Hello, Master0063 back for I Want to Be the Citadel Part 8. This is World 8, hopefully this is the final part. I'll restart there so you can see it is indeed World 8, Stage 8-1. And since this is going to be quite a long endeavour, I am going to get started pretty much immediately and yeah, hope we can make some decent early progress. World 8, Stage 8, whatever you want to call it, is definitely the hardest of the lot. It's, I guess, not too surprising. It's, you know, going to be the final stage. It's going to likely throw everything that you've already learnt in your face. It's probably going to throw a few twists and turns in your way, a few new things that you weren't expecting. So, dig it. So yeah, you better be kind of on your toes, fully prepared. I guess one thing also to say off the bat is that we don't really get one kind of like stage staple or gimmick that we're going to have to worry about. We're going to have to worry about multiple things because they're going to be different, lots of different styles of screens. Oh, that jump's so annoying. So this one you can kind of perhaps already see that when we get to a certain point the screen's kind of scrolling up and we've got, yes, this tower. We're going to have multiple things that we're going to have to deal with while climbing the tower, but when we get to the top of the tower, we're not going to have something similar to this. We're going to have something that's completely different. So yeah, lots of different elements to Stage 8, and we're going to have to deal with hopefully everything that the stage throws at us. That water section there is pretty easy for the most part. I'd like to think, actually, I've probably got quite a bit of experience, damn it, with doing those kind of things from some of the screens in Comedia 2 that I cleared, and it wasn't all that long ago. So yeah, I can't remember exactly what screen it was. I don't know if it actually might have been Destination, I don't know. But some of the screens, I'm thinking in particular of a couple of the screens in Stage 6, yes, that had very intricate water kind of jumping. So that bit on the bottom there, or the bit on the bottom left there, was yeah, not really much compared to that. So yeah. I do find, I think as well, that Stage 8 does seem to throw a lot more of the triggers around than perhaps have been in the game. That's not to say that there aren't triggers, you know, throughout the, or, you know, oh no, I thought that spike was gonna move. Dang it, misremembered that. Yeah, not to say that there aren't. I keep doing that. Why do I keep doing that? Thank you. Yeah, triggers and traps, sort of kind of like during the rest of the worlds, but I do feel like here, all of a sudden, it goes a bit trigger happy, trap happy, and again, it's the final stage. I can't really call the game out on that. I can call out what I'm doing at the moment because I'm having an absolute nightmare on this little bit, and yeah, it's not even all that bad. In case you're wondering what I'm doing here, you do have to kind of go into various little areas of this screen in order to fake out or remove certain spikes in order to clear your path, but oops. Yeah, once you know where you're going, it's not too bad. Even when you don't, it's because the spikes are kind of blocking your path. It's reasonably intuitively obvious where you need to go. I hate these kind of corner jumps, but I'm hoping by rubbing myself up against that left-hand wall that I will kind of sort itself out. And yay, that's nice to do first go because I do not like the look of that. Also forgot that trigger. Yay. But you know, I'm actually pretty pleased with the progress I've made so far. I've only been going just about 4 minutes or so, and I'm pretty near the end of this first screen. So that's some decent progress, and I will not gripe about that at all. As well as there being an abundance of spikes, you can clearly see the prevalence of some of the bombs as well. They're not, most of them are not really that much in the way, but they're still here. They're still an obstacle you have to avoid. But mainly, I'd say it's the spike manoeuvres that you have to worry about. Some of them are, you know, tight gate jumps. Some of them are kind of like reasonably tricky manoeuvres. But for the most part, dang it, they're not that bad. There'll be worse coming up during this world, or at least from what I remember, there will be. But yay, we're done, and here we are on Stage 8-2. So I'm just going to stop here for the moment. You can maybe, yeah, you can see that there's like a cursor thing that's kind of following me around, and if I touch that, then I die. The aim of this one, and I'll also demonstrate this once, if you is to destroy these breakers or whatever they are, and you need to destroy all of them. But when you destroy them, you can no longer then touch them. So I can walk through them at the moment, see, like this and this, which is helpful in getting to places that might otherwise be a bit tricky to do so. But yeah, once you've shot them, and whoops, then yeah, don't touch them or you will die. I nearly messed that up. I think that's all the ones on the left-hand side done, so now we just have to worry about the ones on the right-hand side. I've made a bit of a mess of that, but yeah, anyway. The trick, I suppose, to this one is to not kind of get yourself cornered. Easier said than done sometimes. Oh no, that was bad. The one thing you absolutely must make sure you don't do is get yourself kind of like stuck, as I did with that last one. You see, it was kind of like 2 areas above where I am now. If I'd shot that last one while I was still in between the two, I'd have absolutely screwed myself over at the last possible moment, and I definitely didn't want to do that. So yeah, it's a kind of a hectic little area. The spotlight in the dark makes it a bit more annoying than it otherwise would be, but it's generally okay, particularly when you know where the pattern of all the breakers that you have to shoot. So yeah, kind of like that area. It's not it's generally quite fun. And you can see that on completing it, we teleport to another area with completely different graphics, completely different style, and whatnot. And I'm so pleased I pulled that off first go, because one of those really annoying gate jumps that you'd have to do when falling, and I don't like those at all. This screen, I think, to be honest, is probably by far the easiest of the entire stage. There just seems to be, well, not a lot of kind of like, I guess, gimmicks per se. Why do I keep hitting this stupid spike? But there's nothing kind of like too out of the ordinary that you're gonna experience. So the first one, admittedly, you've got bombs and triggers and things like that aren't all that bad, but they're still there. They can still be a pain. But this one, other than a few, a couple of little tight jumps for the most part, as you can kind of hopefully get the impression as I'm kind of somewhat whizzing through this, really isn't so bad. There's nothing like the gimmick of the previous stage where you've got something chasing you, so you've got to kind of like constantly be on your toes. There's nothing like it's in any of the later stages or later screens of the stage that we'll see where you've got an actual, per se gimmick that you've got to worry about. So yeah, it's just normal platforming, and for the most part, it's pretty simple platforming, to be honest. We're actually at the last part of this area, so provided I don't mess this last little bit up, we will be done. And indeed, we are done. Okay, maybe I misspoke. Maybe this is the easiest screen of the stage. I forgot this was here. I'm not going to read out all that's on all the text on here. So if you want to pause the game and read that, then by all means. I'm not going to sit here for however long it takes for me to read that out. Hit the save, please. I've accidentally hit the blooming speed icon before I jumped up and hit the save, which was partly the game's fault in that it kind of screwed me over by making me do that. But yeah, so it kind of meant that I was having a hell of a time. Or I was going too far over to the right at the beginning there in order to hit the save. But anyway, we're fine now. But clearly you can see here during this screen that we have got certainly a gimmick, and not the easiest one. Or certainly not for me anyway. I always find having to traverse through areas with increased speed is always problematic. For those of you who remember my I Want to Get Cultured, dang it, Let's Play, when I was doing like random mode and even when I was doing like trying to clear the final boss where they shove the gimmicks at you when you're trying to clear some of the levels. Yes. Speed 1 was always the one that I absolutely hated. Admittedly, this isn't quite so tight as some of those areas might have been, but yeah, generally I don't like I don't like having to play the games at breakneck speed. They usually trip me up in some way or the other. So yeah, it's not overused, thankfully, but yeah, speed gimmick in this game is well, I wouldn't say it's too bad ordinarily, but it's just never one that I've done terribly well with. And what the hell am I doing here? Fortunately, it's not in play all the way throughout this screen. So as you saw, once I cleared the first little area, now we've got an infinite jump area, which has its own intricacies and its problems. But infinite jump areas are not usually that bad for me, unless we're dealing with ridiculous intricacy, which thankfully we're not here. There are a few, dang it. There are a few areas that require, you know, some careful movements and some tight jumps, but they're not as bad as they perhaps as they could be. And yeah, that's their second screen done, or second part of this screen done. This third part, as you can clearly see, we're going to have to backtrack a little bit because we've got a giant spike wall that comes back at us. And there's no gimmick to this. That was terrible. Why did I double jump at the time I did there? That was awful. I was never ever going to clear that doing that. But yeah, while there is no extra kind of gimmick to this area, it tends to be one of the trickier ones for me. If for no other reason other than the very final jump. I'll maybe get to explain, or maybe probably show it off a bit better when we kind of get there. But if you have a look over to the right-hand side of the area that I'm on now, you can clearly see that it's got one of those corner jumps that I detest anyway. So it's got one of the spikes coming off horizontally, and one of the spikes coming down directly vertically above the area you need to go to. And I hate those ordinarily. What makes this kind of extra irritating, as for some reason I can't clear this spike pyramid anymore, is if you have a look over to the top left area now, where the part of the screen, god dang it, the part of the screen where I'm going to come out, there's a spike reasonably close to that edge, and what tends to happen, although I pulled it off first go amazingly, is that, as you can perhaps see, it was a close run thing. You kind of jump further over to the right there than you ideally want, and oh, dang it. And yeah, you kind of run into that spike. It's kind of mean, actually, that spike being there. It's very annoyingly placed. Yeah, I remember dying so many times on this screen when I was first doing it, because just because of that. Oh, that was terrible. Because I'd actually made the jump through that area on the right-hand side of the screen, but I kept just going, dang it. Done that little bit too high or too far to the right on that bit on the left-hand side of the screen. But anyway, it's done. For this, I'm doing this all wrong. That's absolutely atrocious. For this final part, you not only get infinite jump and I've just actually, and the speed mechanic, but we have to go in all these little nooks and crannies, triggering out certain blocks in certain areas. When you know where you're going, I'll pause there because the spike wall's pretty slow, but you can see I had to position myself carefully at the top of the screen to jump up to the very bottom of the screen to hit certain safe spots. But yeah, it's not too bad once you kind of know where you're all going. Sorry I couldn't stay on that screen much longer. I didn't really want to do that. I didn't really want to do any of that again, and yeah, the spike wall was closing in. Yeah, we have one more screen of this type of style with the infinite jump and the speed mechanic, and ordinarily I would say this is, yeah, probably, I don't know, about on a par on difficulty with the previous one, although I must say I absolutely hated this getting to this next save, or yeah, getting to the first save proper on this screen, principally because of this section. I'd like to think I have kind of a decent feather touch at being able to pull these kind of manoeuvres off, but yeah, when I was playing through this as a judge, this taught me that yeah, maybe I'm not as good as this as I thought I was. I also screwed up right at the top just before the save as well on what should be a pretty easy jump to pull off, but yeah, having died so many times on this sort of bottom or middle sections, I was so nervous. I twitched and I screwed up so many times on that top bit, and yeah, it should never really. So please don't say I'm going to do it here. I don't believe it. Why did I? That's not what I've been doing at all. But I can't believe that I actually made it well past where I needed to be, and instead of shooting the save, I jumped into the spike that high up. I don't believe it. Ah. But when something like that happens, typically I get kind of annoyed, get frustrated, and every single death there afterwards just adds to the frustration, because I should never have been having to do all this bit again. And yeah, particularly this bit, which causes me so many deaths, particularly that second one. I seem to do far better of a job on the first one than the second one. No reason whatsoever. I'm sure now that I've said this I'm going to die, you know, just that's probably not going to be the case, but for whatever reason, yeah, the second one just seems to go, oh, so much worse than the first one, and I've screwed up the final jump again. This is exactly what I was doing when I was playing through this game as a judge, and it's freaking annoying, because I don't like this bottom section. Yeah, that bit, I still don't like it per se, but it's still better than that bit. I hate the ones where you have to dip down into those kind of areas. They're just the gap which you have to do it is, well, for my money anyway, really narrow, and I kind of always tend to go too soon and screw it up. Thank you, that's what I wanted to do there. I can't hit the save on this side, but oh well. Anyway, that is, to me, I think at least the hardest part of this of World 8 now done, or Stage 8, whatever. So yeah, I'm thoroughly relieved about that, and hopefully we can have a fun time on the rest. Pretty much for the remainder of the stage, we've got the speed mechanic. We don't actually the infinite jump one doesn't go away, so we've still got that in play. As you can clearly see here, there's no way I could. Well, no, there's absolutely no way you could get through this without infinite jump. Let's not even entertain that idea. It's absolutely impossible. But the speed mechanic again just makes things a little bit trickier. I'd like to think this bit won't take me anywhere near as long as the other bit, but I sincerely hope it doesn't anyway. At the moment, I'm not getting the happy medium. I'm jumping either way too low or way too high. And why am I? What is happening on that jump now? That's not a difficult jump. Right, but yeah, just in case you're curious, no, I can't save before this one. Yes, but now I can. Yay! Now this is a little intricate section. I tend to like to probably want to try and rush it a little bit, just because, particularly this first bit, because trying to muck around wiggling in this bit is actually harder than you might think. So yeah, I do actually tend to like to want to kind of like, you know, cut a bit of a corner there. It seems to work a good proportion of the time anyway. It just means I don't have to muck around, you know, fiddling around, and yeah, if I can get it to work, it's yeah, it usually works out quite well. This other bit, not so much, because I always, or at the moment anyway, if you haven't clearly noticed, I'm smacking into the spike on the bottom of it all the time, so I'm not getting any height whatsoever. To try and clear it. Like again, there. I'm just not getting the height at all. That was a bit better, and I should maybe try and take it a bit slower. But there we go. There we don't go. Yeah, that's a better strategy. So is that. But don't forget to shoot the save, or more accurately, don't miss the save when you shoot. Of course, you do fall at reasonable speed, so that was my problem there. But right, gotcha this time. Right, and with that cleared, we have definitely cleared the hardest parts of this screen. The rest, well, I'm not saying it's going to go spectacularly smoothly. Should be a walk in the park in comparison. And there we go. Okay, so that brings us to, if memory serves, the final sort of style of screens. So this one is just mainly about getting in certain areas or certain nooks and crannies and whatnot again to trigger out certain spikes, and also then to get into these sort of sparkly teleporters which take you to another area of the screen. Yes, I don't like that jump, and here's another jump I don't like. Those bloody corner ones. But I do like the style of this, actually. The teleporters are, yeah, kind of nice. It's not too bad, actually. Funnily enough, I do probably think that the getting to the first save again is probably the hardest of all of this style of screen, just because it has some really kind of. Did I hit that save? I didn't. Oh, and you can see why I panicked there as well, because the edge of the ledge where I'm supposed to stand on there has clearly got mini spikes on. I'm always. You're joking me! I'm always nervous about the hitboxes of the mini spikes. So I don't want to travel too far over to the left and get hit by them because I feel that's stupid. But equally now I've just died twice in an even possibly more stupid fashion by not reaching the ledge and missing the save and falling down to my death. That's twice now. I should have had this first little bit done. And yeah, since I reckon it is the hardest bit, just because of this jump, which I don't like, because it's just, again, one of those ones where you've got lots of spikes to clear in a tight area. I have a large tendency to hit my head on the ceiling when making these jumps, and if you do that, then you're pretty much screwed. Not an absolute certainty, or not absolutely, that's good, if you do hit your head that you can't make it, but you definitely want to try and avoid doing so. And unfortunately, I've got to pull it off twice. So once to get into the area, or this area up here, and then once to get out again. It also has, which I cannot do for the life of me at the moment. It's been about a minute, I think, since I actually managed to pull this jump off. You've then got that corner jump that I talked about, which I don't like. And there, I didn't expect the last little bit to screw me over. But oh well. Damn it! I hate that. And why do you have to do it twice? And that's just so easy to do. The mini spikes as well in the middle. I'd almost rather that was like. I think actually if it was 3 giant spikes, I don't think, or normal size, I don't think you could actually. Thank you. You couldn't pull that off. But the fact that they're mini spikes just irks me. I can never get the hitbox right. Okay, so with that out of the way, I truly believe that is the hardest part of the rest of these style of screens. So yeah, hopefully the rest should pass with not too much in the way of incident. Not saying it's child's play by any stretch of the imagination. That was terrible. But yeah, it's easier in comparison. Well, that's my opinion anyway. Those of you wondering, we'd obviously see it pretty soon anyway, or I'm hoping we see it pretty soon. This isn't the last screen, so there is one more after this. Again, I think so, unless I'm misremembering it. But yeah, we are pretty much near the end now. So this screen and one more, and then we are at the final boss. Right, let's not screw this up this time. Thank you. Yay. By the Christmas tree jump, or whatever the hell it's actually called, but I like to call it the Christmas tree jump. And very nicely, there is no invisible save barrier around that, or no invisible barrier around that save. I happen to actually make the jump first go anyway, so yay. But yeah, the fact that you don't have to pull that off is a nice touch. The game's a little bit, I suppose, inconsistent in that regard, in the sense that sometimes there are barriers around the saves, but sometimes there aren't, clearly like that. So it's definitely worth seeing whether you can hit them before you try and pull off that final manoeuvre or whatever. And I mean that kind of like on every stage, because you never know when there actually will or won't be a barrier around. What the hell is up with this jump? Maybe I'm screwing that up by trying to double jump it. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, not fun times on that jump. Oh, that was terrible. But yeah, my recommendation, other than the fact that I hate this jump, and you want to pay close attention to it because it killed me more times than I'd care to like, or I really would like, is yeah, when you see a save, yeah, do see whether you can actually hit, or from afar anyway, do see whether you can hit it. I think most of the time you can't, but obviously that one occasion where you can do, it will be a big help. And here we are on the final screen, and this one is mostly about just falling and weaving through various spike shafts. Made a little bit more difficult by the fact that on certain screens you go, or you drop down, of course you drop down Damn it! Well, you drop off the bottom of one area and come out on the top of another one, but at least you can, at least I guess you can see what's coming. Yes, without kind of having to, you know, worry about, yeah, looking for or wondering what's happening on a screen that you can't see. So there's at least that, I guess. And yeah, this is the final save. So this is the final thing that we have to do. And clear this last little bit. We are done. I think this is, from memory, this was quite tricky. So I don't expect this to be. I don't expect this to take well, no time at all really. This is, let's say, the final thing that we pretty much have to do, or the final part of a level, the working through levels that we have to do. So yeah, it's likely going to be tricky. It has a few irritating jumps. That one in particular. I should probably employ my strategy of rubbing up against this wall. And yeah, that will make things a lot easier. I will do that in future. That hopefully should make things a lot easier. I'm hoping that there isn't a future, to be honest. I'm hoping I pull this off, but... And I have. Yay! And there we go. That's excellent. So yeah, we're pretty much there now. You can shoot either of these switches. You can't shoot them here. You have to go through the laser beam, water beam, whatever. But it doesn't matter which one you shoot. The spike that was kind of blocking the area, or blocking this final time portal, is now out of the way. So yeah, shoot either switch. Just yeah, but yeah, doesn't matter which one. It will get rid of the spike. And that brings us to the final boss, which is pretty easy. Sadly, unfortunately, I don't know how the way you want to look at it. I'm not saying I'm going to do it first go like some of the other bosses, but hey, it's pretty easy. And if I go into it, despite his big health bar, you might be able to see why if you look over to the top left. I have a death count. So that means I can get hit, I think because it says 5, obviously if I took the 5th hit I would die, but I may get hit 4 times. So obviously that makes things considerably easier. The other thing that to definitely pay attention to is the sprite of the boss itself does not damage you. So, because the first time I was playing this I was like, oh my god, how the hell am I actually... He's basically just... I mean, look, he's creeping over left and right. How am I actually going to avoid him? He's just getting way too close. You know, things are getting way too hectic. What am I going to do? But, of course, since you can transport, or since you can walk through his sprite, and that doesn't hurt you, you know, happy days. Yeah, this makes this pretty easy. I mean, it would be bloody cruel, frankly, given the state of the, you know, the arena and everything like that. Indeed, the height of the boss, if that weren't the case. But still, not something you necessarily intuitively think would be in play. So yeah, but as soon as you realise that you can walk through him, then this becomes a lot easier. And there's my first hit, and that was really bloody clumsy. But as you've kind of maybe seen, I'm not going to, if I end up pulling this off first go, won't get a chance to like talk about many of the phases, but most of them are just, you know, dodge a rain of crap that falls down from the ceiling. That tends to be my kind of like impression of most of the game, or indeed most of the bosses and whatnot, that ultimately all their attacks are pretty much just, yeah, dodge a rain of crap. Damn it, I'm now in slight danger of messing this up now, actually. One thing you also do have to do is you have to be within this water, laser beam or whatever, or the confines of it, when you shoot him. So yeah, if I'm outside of it, as you might have seen, then I'm not going to deal him any damage. So you have to be within this blue beam area. Oh god, don't say I'm going to screw this up. Oh, there we go. It was a first go. I had one hit left. That was actually a pretty poor show on the boss. Getting hit 4 times, but so, hey, it was first go. I couldn't necessarily remember exactly what all the attacks were going to do, other than effectively they're all just, yeah, like I said, dodge a rain of crap falling from the sky. I do feel like, unfortunately, that's probably one of the game's weaknesses, that a lot of the bosses feel like that. So, you know, some of the Delicious Fruit stuff has that. Metal Sonic has some of that. The fourth boss here, Soul Belly Rocker, whatever, has a lot of that. The boss of stage 5, Satan, is very much like that as well. The Mega Man Wily Archive one, very similar again, where you're just kind of like dodging a rain of pellets. So yeah, I think some of the bosses, and I did mention that as one of my probably criticisms, I guess, of the game during when I provided my feedback for the Fangame contest, that it did feel like there were just too many of those style bosses. But also that boss of World 7 as well, very similar. It would have been nice to have maybe had a bit more variety in the boss attacks, but yeah. as the credits kind of roll. Other than that, I didn't really find too much fault with the game. It's somewhat challenging, but as you've kind of seen from most of these worlds, I've got through pretty quickly. I mean, I know this isn't blind and whatnot, but you know, I couldn't really complain about how this Let's Play has gone. It's gone by incredibly quickly, and I have to somewhat apologise for that in the sense that my commentary's probably not been the best because I'm clearing things without really having proper time to explain things away. But yeah, it's a really fun game. I thoroughly recommend it. From memory, from looking at the stats there, 1 hour 45 and 761. I think I cleared it in an hour less and with about 700 fewer deaths. I think that's around about right. But it only took me, you know, 2 and 3/4 hours to beat the game first time around. So that was blind. So yeah, it's fun, but it's yeah, it could possibly do with a slight increase in difficulty. But ultimately, you know, I'd like to think I'm reasonably kind of skilled at these games, not to the point where I'm going to be clearing things absolutely amazingly or beating some of the really hardcore ones. But yeah, I did find this one rather easy, but very, very fun. And ultimately, that's why I voted it as my favourite of the contest. This does raise an interesting issue that I would just like to raise here about how I judged, or how I kind of positioned the games in the contest. So I've said quite a few times now that this was my favourite of the contest. And the key word here is favourite. I don't even have to think about it being my favourite. If you ask me what the best game of the contest was, I'd probably have to pause to think on that. This may well still come out on top, but post-structural ironic Fangame title, I think that's what it was called, SIFT or whatever, that would be very, very close to this kind of level, possibly even usurping it as as my kind of like opinion as being the best game of the contest. But yeah, it was a bit kind of unclear how to kind of think about it when I was judging it. But ultimately, it's very, you know, you could it's difficult to make the distinction between the two. I say I voted for favourite. I don't think it would, and certainly from the actual result, it would have made no difference whatsoever. This game came out top by quite some considerable distance. But yeah, it did raise an interesting kind of thought in my mind when I kind of saw how it all panned out and had reflected on the results. That yeah, I maybe judged this as being the favourite without necessarily thinking it was the best. Although it would still, in my opinion, certainly be top 2 in that regard. And that's probably all I wanted to say on that. This is probably the end of the Let's Play, unless I can somehow find this hidden world, which is supposedly in the game. I don't know if it actually is, or someone's put a comment on a video to direct me to where it is. If there is one, and I do find it, or someone can direct me to where it is, or they're happy to do so, I will definitely Let's Play that as an addition to this video. I might well even do that blind. But yeah, without knowledge of where that is, this is pretty much the end of the game. So yeah, I probably want to sort of close and just say I'm not absolutely sure, unfortunately, what my next project is going to be. I really, really, really want it to be Mega Man 8 Let's Play Perfect Run. I really want that out of the way the end of this year, if possible, but circumstances just mean that it might be a bit tricky to actually do that. So I'm certainly hoping and aiming that it will be Mega Man Let's Play Perfect Runs, but there's a reasonable chance it won't be, in which case I will do another I Wanna Be game. Don't know absolutely what that's going to be at the moment. If it is before the end of the year, I've got a few ideas, but I don't want to say anything definitive about what it could or couldn't be at the moment. So yeah, if it is another I Wanna Be game, hopefully it'll be a little bit of a surprise. But yeah, another one anyway that I really, really liked, played reasonably recently. I think sometime during the beginning of this year or the middle of this year, and yeah, one that I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, that's pretty much about all I wanted to say. And whatever my next project is, Mega Man 8 or some I Wanna Be game, hope to catch you for that. But until then, cheerio.